Syracuse Unity, and I've been to Wilkes-Barre Unity, and it seems to be the same way all the way around.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's Unity time. You know,
That's right. It's a whole different sort of energy flow. Okay, let's do the call to worship and begin to draw our attention and our energy not just into our heart and our center, but into this room and the unity that we're creating here. There is but one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. God, the good, the omnipotent. I think Rose has some.
Yes.
Is this Mary? Did you know?
Yes.
Mary, did you know? Mary, did you know? Mary, did you know? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would one day walk on water? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would save our sons and daughters? Do you know that your baby boy has come to make us know? This child that you've delivered will soon deliver too. Mary, did you know that your baby boy would give sight to a blind man? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would calm the storm with his hand? Did you know that your baby boy has walked where angels tread? When you kiss your little baby, you kiss the face of God. Mary, did you know? Did you know? Mary, did you know? The blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will live again. The dumb will speak the praises of the Lamb. Mary, did you know that your baby boy is Lord of all creation? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would one day rule the nations? Did you know that your baby boy is heaven's perfect love? That sleeping child you're holding is the great I am.
Another great choice. Thank you, Rose.
Yes.
It's a nice way to get started.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome.
Yeah, amazing.
Does anybody have any announcements that you'd like to share?
We have potluck after service, so maybe around 1:15 downstairs. So
Oh, that's today. I
that's
forgot.
today. Yeah.
I didn't bring anything, but maybe I'll.
That's okay. You don't
Same.
have to bring anything.
Yeah.
Just bring your awesome
Your
self,
presence.
your presence. So we always have enough food. And then also let everybody know that the vegan restaurant is open on Clinton Street called Parlor City. I just passed by yesterday, and it looks beautiful.
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah,
right.
it's pretty good.
Is it good? Have you been there?
They've done a couple of previews, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, all glass, the building is all glass, it's on the corner.
It's
So,
a nice addition.
a nice addition to our community.
Yeah, it is.
It is, yeah. So we have some of that going on too.
Thanks, Vera. Anybody else have something to announce?
Who's the next week's speaker? Anybody know?
Carol Golembeski
Okay.
is for next week. We haven't had her speak yet.
She's her first time. for
She's her first
right?
time, yeah.
Good.
That's nice.
I remember encouraging her a long time ago to be a speaker, and she's like, "Oh no!" So she must have finally come around.
It's perfect timing.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
That's right. Anything else, Jerry?
I'm not online, so I don't know the speaker's online or anything. But
Okay. All right, any new members? People who are not normally here? No? Well, we welcome the new members that will be coming.
Yes.
How about that?
That's
We
good.
create space and invitation and welcome them when they arrive. Okay, so let's do the new member welcome just in that spirit.
Mm-hmm.
We open our
hearts
hearts and doors to new individuals and families. We know that the right and perfect people are joining us at the right and perfect time. Amen.
Amen.
Greet one another with that same sense of welcome and openness.
Special unity moments, huh? I would say just being able to share with people our deepest, let's say, shame and darkness, and be able to share that with someone who is suffering so deeply, and to be able to open that part of us to one another and not just show, have to show the sunshine. We can also show the darkness and the moonlight and the night, and to be able to share that so that we're not alone thinking that, wow, what's going on with me? Something must be wrong with me. I must be the only one. But
Yeah.
it's so widespread if we just talk about it and have that freedom. And I'm just wanting to encourage people to talk about it to those who can receive it or who want to hear it, because we need to show that camaraderie, that oneness. There's a oneness there besides the oneness of goodness and light and perfection.
Absolutely. Particularly with the shame, things
The
that come
shame.
from that deep well of shame that really are isolating.
Yes.
Yeah. So
And-
beautiful.
And particularly this time of year, I notice that maybe it seems even more intense in the winter,
Yeah.
right? It seems like
Yeah.
somehow it gets even deeper, and we can contemplate and go within to find our core, so that we can somehow get through it and also talk about it if we need to.
Yeah.
I was thinking
That's
of
glorious.
Laura?
Oh, I was just thinking, it crossed my mind how being able to forgiveness is actually a gift to the forgiver too.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I've
yeah.
learned that,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. I know that's one of those things that a lot of people say, we say a lot of it, but it seems that a real understanding of what that means. So
Yeah,
it's like you said, it's our releasing and opening back up again.
and breathing, there
Right.
is, yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerry.
The synchronicity moment that I just had was, I'm presently reading a book called The Original Blessing. I'm talking about 4 paths to spirituality.
Mhm.
One of the paths being the spirit of negativity or whatever. I don't speak Latin.
The
But
via
it's talking
negativa.
exactly what Vera was just talking about.
Yeah.
Opening up to the darkness with others for the purpose of uniting.
mm.
That, and yeah, I thought it was really interesting reading, but then Vera brings it up as
Yeah,
a
no.
topic. It's too synchronistic to ignore.
No, absolutely. And that's Matthew Fox, right? Original
Who's the
Blessing.
author?
Matthew Fox, yeah.
Just in case
Not
someone
him.
else wants to
Matthew.
delve into
There's 2 of them, right?
Yeah.
Not George, not him.
Yeah, there's
I know,
Emmett,
right?
there's Emmett and Matthew, and
And
then
there's
what's
also George Fox, who was
Oh, yeah.
founder of the Quakers.
wow, a lot of foxes that are really out there.
Wisdom, wise as a fox.
Wise as
Yeah,
a
that's
fox.
right. Absolutely.
And what's the title again? Give us-
Original Blessing,
Original Blessing by
Matthew Fox.
Matthew Fox.
Mhm.
Great.
Anything else come up and through to share
Hmm.
in this moment?
Well, I'm just happy to see you because I was thinking about you, and when I was doing some like campaigning for when we had like the election.
Mhm.
And I left stuff on your doorstep and I was like, no, I'll just like wait until I see you. But I was thinking about you, and then somebody gave me I never ever had to say her name. It's like Clarissa or Clarissa
Finkel Estes, right?
of the Mother Mary book
Oh, yeah.
that you had originally like
Oh,
lent me for a
yeah.
period of time.
Untied the Strong Woman, right?
Yeah,
Is
so that was neat to then like get back, and I thought about you more. So I'm really excited to hear you speak. I'm happy you're here.
Thank you very much. This is so beautiful.
you.
Always, my goddess, to see you as well.
Any synchronicities we're talking about?
Synchronicities,
Unity moment.
blessings, unity moments.
Sharon usually
Yes,
has something.
wonderful. I thought I was called down in an office because I had done something wrong, and instead they were hiding special food and a gift card, and
Ah,
they overheard that I would like some new towels. And I said, I'd love about 12 new towels, and there it was, and set aside for me.
wow.
Just went to pick them up, and beautiful oceanic teal and green and sandy colored, and they're just gorgeous. So I was really surprised and shocked. And a beautiful card stating all that I do at my work, because now I'm working in a middle school in 8th grade. So yeah, it was wonderful. And being accepted and into the team, it was really lovely. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, definitely. More of that, please.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. If anybody has prayer requests, you can hold it in your heart, whether for self or other. Or I think, right, there are prayer request forms if you want it shared with Unity, so that they can add their prayer power. So just take a moment. If anybody has somebody whose name you want to kind of raise up publicly, we can hold that, but we don't need you to speak it if you don't want to, because it's present in and through you. So, okay, let's do the blessing of those prayer requests, and may it extend to people we don't even know who are in need of that right now. And let's just like wave it right out there. God's all-encompassing love is doing its perfect work
In and through us. Wholeness is established in every area of our lives, and so it is.
Does somebody want to do the daily word reading?
I did bring it this time.
Oh, yay.
I remember. Love. I immerse myself in God's love. God's love is a gift that each member of the human family shares. It is the love that binds us together and gives us the ability to create harmony in our world. When we make the decision to think, feel, and act lovingly, we live as the love that we are, and the love between us blossoms and grows. Today I immerse myself in the awareness of God's love within me. My heart overflows with a renewed and growing awareness of this love that created and sustains me. I am motivated to give of myself in service to others. I release old resentments and offer forgiveness to those who have hurt me. I didn't even relate back to that. I smile and share my joy. I embrace oneness with God and harmony with all people. And now faith, hope, and love abide. These three, and the greatest of these is love. 1 Corinthians 13:13.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse my hoarse voice.
Yeah. Prayer and meditation and special music today kind of go together. And then we'll kind of weave through the lesson, so they're not as segmented today as sometimes we do it. So I invite you to, as Rose prepares to share Be Born in Me, which is from Francesca Battistelli, to center yourself in your heart. You might want to do the heart mudra whenever we put our hand on our heart and breathe 5 in, breathe 5 out. We're actually calming our sympathetic nervous system and stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system, which actually helps us to calm down and center, particularly if we're feeling anxious or feeling the anxieties of the world. So if you feel like it, if it feels right for you, you can do that while you listen. So this will be the music meditation
I think it's automatically turned itself off.
Everything inside me wants to hide. Is this shadow nature for you? If God is pleased with me, why am I so terrified? Someone tell me
Well,
Do you want to start it again?
it's not going through the speaker. I don't know why. Yeah, I can start it again.
It's all right. We'll just reboot.
everything inside me cries for order. Everything inside me wants to hide. Is this shadow an angel or you? If God is pleased with me, why am I so terrified? Someone tell me I'm only dreaming. Somehow help me see with heaven's eyes. And before my head agrees, my heart is on its knees. Holy is He. Blessed am I, made one in me. Made one in me. Trembling heart, somehow I believe that you chose me. I hold you in the beginning, you will hold me in the end. Every moment in the middle, make my heart your Bethlehem, be born in me. All this time we've waited for the promise. All this time you've waited for my arms. Did you wrap yourself inside the unexpected? So we might know that love would go that far. Be born in me. Be born in me. Trembling heart, somehow I believe that you chose me. I'll hold you in the beginning, you will hold me in the end. Every moment in the middle, make my heart your Bethlehem, be born in me. I am not brave, I'll never be. The only thing my heart can offer is a vacancy. I'm just a girl, nothing more. I am willing, I am yours.
That's a beautiful one.
Yeah, very nice, very apropos.
Welcome. So when I first heard that song, one, it is beautiful, and her voice is beautiful, and there are a couple of different versions, some shorter, some longer. But the one segment of the lyrics that spoke to me or really touched my heart was "Make my heart your Bethlehem." So that's what inspired the theme for the lesson this morning. So if we think about it, we're in Advent now on the Christian calendar. That's a season of literally preparing, waiting for the anticipated good and beyond good, that joyous promise, but it's not yet here, right? So we're waiting. So we think of the nativity scene and the manger, make my heart your Bethlehem, where the Christ child is born in that story. But right now it's empty. It's prepared, but it's not filled yet. Right? So we're in a period of waiting. And what does it mean even, when we reflect, if we're going to do like a Lectio Divina or sacred reflection, make my heart your Bethlehem, knowing that right now in this season, and perhaps within us, and always sometimes within us, because we go in and out of those states, it's empty. It's waiting. So what gets in the way of our ability to wait with a spacious mind and an open heart, with faith that the anticipated joy will arrive? What gets in the way for any of you? I know what gets in the way for me.
All kinds of fears.
Fear, definitely.
Expectations.
Yeah, expectations for sure, and expectations that come from our mind, other people's standards, our conditioning, right?
I think it's just a matter of not looking in the right place. That it's there, I'm just not looking where it is. I'm looking up there, or I'm looking at the problem, not the,
Yeah.
I'm focused on the wrong thing, let's put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a lot that gets our attention that wants to hijack our mind in that regard, and our energy goes with it. So fear, those expectations, attention to other things that get our attention and draw us out of that center, out of that spacious center of waiting in faith and knowing. What else?
Forgetting to breathe sometimes, holding the clenching, and yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Impatience, anybody? Like, wow, when's it gonna get here? When's it gonna get here? What have I done wrong? What am I doing wrong? It's not here yet. It's not here yet. It's not coming. Right?
It's like the UPS.
Right? Yeah. They're supposed to be here today.
I think having an experience with that.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess shame and guilt.
Sure. Yeah, so the manger is like full of other stuff, right? Or sometimes those old wounds create an armor around it.
Or sadness.
Sure.
Grief. Yeah.
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 Yep. So that's the state of our being. That's life, right? Is flowing in and out of those states. Probably most of us feel like we're out of the state of spacious, faithful, awaiting, centered, with the niche of our heart. That's from Islam. The Sufis call it the niche of the heart, where the divine spark lives, the spark of our being that's always there. Many traditions talk about that, including Unity, talking about the spark, the divine spark, that gets kind of covered over or encased or protected because we fear for it. We've learned, can I trust that? Sometimes things don't happen the way we want to, so we're in that doubt, we're in that fear. God knows we're barraged by it in the culture. And this time of the year too, speaking multiple names, I always want to say Millard Fillmore. Wrong Fillmore. So it's true, but Charles Fillmore talked about how this time of the year is really about getting in right relation with the Christ qualities. So that's really the same as the symbolism, waiting for the birth, having the open manger ready for the Christ child. In that case, the story is the person who is born. But within us, it's the same state of readiness, because those are spiritual teachings too. And we know that there are all kinds of things that block it and obstruct it. So he's talking about this time of the year, this waiting period, maybe being more intentionally aligning with the Christ qualities of generosity, of spirit. Any others? Patience.
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
Yeah.
Forgiveness, yeah.
Compassion.
Compassion.
Yeah.
Love.
Love. The greatest of these.
Mm.
A sense of faithfulness, which is that believing in things not yet seen, but not just mentally. That's the trick here.
Mm.
You know, I mean, James Dillett Freeman, a Unity poet, also said this. This time in December, we are inundated by temptations, expectations, excesses. It feels like it really just ratchets up at certain times, right? I mean, they're always there, but there are certain times of the year where cultural expectations and what we've internalized, you know, it's supposed to be this way, I'm supposed to be doing this, I'm supposed to be able to do this, other people are supposed to be doing this for me, or for each other, or blah, 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 blah. So James Dillett Freeman goes on to say that Christmas is a flowering. He talks about how ancient truths arise from within us too, because we have that ancestral memory. Arise within us and through us because we bring our attention, or something gets our attention, and it aligns with those qualities. It brings us back into our body because all of those other things are in our minds. You know, the mind is in the future, the mind that is in the past. Fear about the future, anxiety about the past. You know, that's where we start getting clenched. None of us skillful when that's happening. I mean, it's not our fault. It's sort of like a physiological, neurological thing because we've activated the survival brain. Right? So this time of the year is that breathing, making space. And as I prepared, as I was kind of wandering around, I noticed right here, but those who wait on the divine, on God, on the Lord, shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. This is a time of renewal. That's what that opening the niche of the heart, preparing the manger that we are, breathing in, no joke. I mean, that's for real. That's why breath, ruha, prana, from so many different traditions, is important. It's not just we breathe, of course we breathe, as long as we're standing or sitting. But when we breathe intentionally, breathe in 5, breathe out 5, hold for about a second in between. We're intentionally breathing free. It's free. You know, you can do it in the middle of the grocery line.
Mm-hmm.
And we know when we feel, I certainly do, whether triggered or clenched, or, you know, you might even be full of somebody else's energy if you're sensitive and empathic. You know, but your body is going to respond. You know, I noticed that when I get that energy, my mind starts pulling files that match it. Anxieties, worries, judgments, and I'm just sort of like, whoa, you know, where'd that come from? But then I learned where that comes from, you know, and that's where, oh, this is what's happening. Let me center. Let me open up some space. Let me put my attention in my body, inhabit my own manger, you know, make my heart that Bethlehem, right? I mean, it's beyond a reflection of just this 10 or 15 minutes, you know, like coming back to our heart, coming back to our body. Our energy is drawn back in from out there where, I don't know about you, but when I'm all scattered out there, you know, this is happening, this person's doing this person's needing this person just did this, you know. I mean, I feel more susceptible to that anxiety or those fears. Have you ever noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
So when we gather back, like, notice what's happening. And this is a time of the year where we have reminders, whether it's the Christmas lights or the manger scene, whether we ever thought about it that way or not, reminding us that here too, you know, the temple of our being, we can create space through breathing, through whatever works. You know, breathing definitely works because it calms us down, you know, unclenches us. But when we're in our hearts, you know, that field, Rumi called the heart the sea of love, the sea of light. You know, here in our heart is as broad as an ocean, right? Our mind clenches up. Our mind clenches our body. I mean, it's a beautiful, amazing thing when it's in service of the wisdom of our hearts, right? When it's like running off on its own, look out. You know, we've been the recipients, I'm sure, of that, and it flows through us, and that's the conditioning. I mean, that's like the human condition. So no shame, no blame. Don't need more of that. But if we can catch ourselves and be reminded of things, whether through, you know, we gather together like this to remind one another, right? I'm as reminded when I'm here as anybody else. Maybe, you know, I feel more reminded. Like, thank you for the invitation, because I can remind myself. But now, I mean, we might see the evergreens, the lights, the manger scenes, and remember that it's not just about the frenzy that draws us out of ourselves. It's not how much we buy. Those have all co-opted that energy. It's a beautiful thing to give and receive gifts, but it can be a kind word as much as a big, beautifully wrapped gift. You know, if we can sit and be present with the fullness that we have, be thankful. Meister Eckhart said the most powerful prayer we could ever say is thank you. Why? Because it brings us back into our gratitude state, into our hearts. We can breathe into that and again, open up that space. So those are the real gifts of the season, whether it's James Dillett Freeman and Charles Fillmore talking about it, acknowledging that so many external distractions call us away from that. And yet if we look with those fresh eyes, we can see those also as reminders, right? Reminders to come back into our heart, come back into our center, because all of those things that are, we might say, high vibe states, gratitude, generosity, joy. December in Unity is joy, you know, the awakening and awareness of joy. Joy is an effect of a heart-centered state. You know what I mean? When you sort of forget, you ever notice that? I mean, sometimes I've forgotten about what I'm worried about, and like I have this giggle that comes up. You know, like my soul is sort of getting in on the joke. Like, yeah, whew. Yeah, you really went down that hill, didn't you? You know what I mean? You know, and then start thinking about it again. So, but I mean, we're surrounded by reminders, and that in itself is a blessing, but it's a way of seeing and reminding each other and holding that space for each other. And like Vera said, you know, being a receptive anamkara, soul friend, sharing what's true. I mean, that's a state, that's sharing and honoring life in its wholeness. Because what good does it do if we're only willing to acknowledge or try to pretend that it's all happy, light all the time? You know, there's night and there's day, and night's not a bad thing. Roots grow deeper at night. That's a farmer fact. My grandfather was a farmer. He knew that.
Interesting.
You know, so it's cultural conditioning that says otherwise. And that, Sherry, right, that's what feeds those expectations that things should be other than they are, that we should be something other than we are, that other people should be something other than they are. You know, because we're all just trying to figure it out. You know, we're all holy temples of the divine in various states of remembrance and forgetting. So let's remind ourselves, breathe into that space and open up some of that constriction, you know. And now we know from both the spiritual traditions and from neuroscience and science that that breath helps to do that. Available to us anytime, anywhere. Breathe into that manger, the niche in our hearts that makes space for the divine that is within us, that flows through us, to breathe back out from us. So take just a moment, if you will, again. You might bring to mind, something that's loved, that's cherished. Some moment, whether with friends, beloved, animal friends, nature, blessing, remembered, something deeply appreciated that opens up that smile of our heart. Because it actually, even if we, do that, if we raise our lips, our brain is going to think it should be smiling inside too. So whatever helps, just take a moment and let some of that breath that you breathe in, the Holy Spirit, make just a little bit more space. Return your energy to your body. Feel it going in, feel your feet on the floor. Fully inhabit the manger of your holy being. Knowing that our body temples, our being is divine being. And whether in this moment or at some point throughout the day, notice whether there's one of those Christ qualities that catches your awareness, whether you feel it, because this is a felt thing. I'm talking about it, but this is something we really feel, right? I mean, we try to get at it with words, but when we're in our bodies, we can feel it. We can go with that intention and watch what's arising, whether it's generosity of spirit, kindness, forgiveness really is compassion, right? That sense of compassion and empathy, not just for ourselves, but for others, not just for others, but ourselves. When those feelings of shame arise, constriction arise, breathe in. Allow ourselves to be the conduits and the recipients and the givers of those very divine qualities that Charles Fillmore, that James Dillett Freeman, that Jesus, that Rumi, that Muhammad, etc., 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 remind us of. That the Christmas lights remind us of. That the mangers remind us of. That when we look at each other, we're reminded of. May we take it through the day, through the week. Thank you, my friends.
Thank you.
Now we've got the love offering going on.
I was
So this
wondering
is-
if there's any comments. Usually we take
Oh,
comments.
thank you. I know.
Yeah, if anybody has any
Speaking of breathing
comments.
space into
Most people think that it's water that you can't live without, and that's the one thing that people actually bypasses air and oxygen and the breath. And to, the first thing that's done is you breathe a breath when you're born. And that's an amazing thing, that because it seems effortless to most of us, we don't even think that is number one. Without the air, without the breath, we are not alive. And then the other thing is that, oceans of love. I think of oceans of love, not just an ocean or just whatever. It's oceans of love. I mean, it just expands so far. It reaches so wide.
Yeah. And water too has oxygen in it, so
Yes, it does.
even
The
water
oceans,
has had Holy Spirit ruah, breath, breathed into it. So we can even keep that in mind when we drink water. I mean, countless opportunities to be present, to be filled with gratitude at those simple blessings,
And when
right?
I think of the Nativity too, I think of the Mother Mary principle of the nurturing and the offering of life as well. It's a beautiful thing to, and that means just offering love and joy to other people. That's nurturing. That's a trait of that.
It is.
And I think this brought up visions of we need to keep in our prayers and our light for purity of water and air. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you can, with intention, you can actually change it. Yeah,
I
because
have-
it's scientifically
yeah.
proven. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the person that
Emoto.
wrote that, but yes,
Yeah,
yes,
beautiful.
yes. And blessing before we eat them
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
part of that, yeah.
So you
Yeah.
can put your hands around your cup of water and put your intention in it and bless the water, and it will actually remain quite pure. They did this as a test where there was dirty water
Mhm.
and no one got sick with it. And they've done this with people who have actually been out to sea without water. And they would take the ocean water and they would ask that it be transformed and to heal their bodies, and they survived. Normally
Yeah.
you can't without the salt, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's actually been proven.
So when we do, whether we're praying on somebody else's behalf,
Yeah.
whether we know them or not, or those blessings that we might wish on others, including people who tick us off, you know, whether we're looking at things in the news or whatever. I mean, one of my teachers reminded that, you know, our natural instinct is to be angry, you know, and justifiably so, but sometimes if we do a blessing, may they be well, may the eyes and ears of their heart be open, may they be healed, right? It's a totally different energy. But again, you know, we come to presence, and you know, I've fallen in and out of that, so I'm constantly having to remind myself, but yeah, you're right.
And I think I have these, I read about these ancient manuscripts that a scientist friend of mine has. And it is really astonishing to find that making the gold or anything else, that transformation, is really through purity of thought. It is the focus and the purity of thought. So it isn't any external thing, according to these manuscripts of ancient times. It's actually gathering enough people with purity of thought to using it so that if you need it as a powder, as a mineral in the body, just like you need silver, and just like you colloidal silver or any of those minerals, zinc, and they were able to accomplish that for healing and health. But they said it was through pure, focused, pure intention of love and healing that they focused on, and it was able to transform.
And the secret of that is that whole body, wholehearted thought, not just our intellectual thought.
Speaking of the purity of thought, according to Charles Fillmore in his metaphysical dictionary, Mary represents that purity of thought. Joseph is the thought itself, and when the thought of the Christ and the purity of thought combine, they created the Christ.
And there,
Well, Joseph wasn't really the father, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The two combined it.
Yeah.
there's,
Yeah,
according to
when the two become one, as Jesus said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else?
according to the Vatican, it's a very big possibility that it's the Father and Son, and the Holy Spirit refers to Mother Mary.
Of course.
And it's the Gospel according to Mary, and that the Vatican is withholding that.
Yeah.
And so that is
Interesting.
a real source that has been taken out, is that nurturing, mothering aspect for men and women.
Right. And may she rise unhindered within us and through us now. Along with the sacred masculine too, because it is when the two become one.
Right.
Well, it's a balance of both, whether you're a female or male, is that you
Right,
balance
yes.
both of those energies within you. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have something when you're centered in your heart? Yes.
I've been very busy getting ready for Christmas and stuff, but breathing in, and I felt the white light come through the crown chakra to my heart, and it was a healing, and I could send it out to people who need it. It's a wonderful feeling, so I thank you for reminding me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you
Yes,
too.
thank you.
Yeah, we all create what's created in here,
Yeah.
so thank you.
Brett, did you have one?
Well, I think earlier we were talking about like darkness,
Mm-hmm.
and how do you, I mean, I think part of my question is, how do you learn to, if you have like certain negative traits, or you feel things that are very big, like blockages, wherever they come from in life, that hold
Sure.
you back, how can you learn to love those things and possibly change those things?
Mhm.
If they hold you back in some big ways that you feel are like,
Sure. One of the things that comes to my awareness now is that same thing, put them in the manger, right? And bring that sense of compassion and empathy for that. Because one of the biggest things is that we're ashamed. We feel like we're not meeting probably somebody else's expectation of how it's supposed to be. Or our internalized sense of what's supposed to be happening now. But we don't really know that that's the case. All the great mystics went through amazing dark nights of the soul and often went in and out of them. Many of us on the spiritual path have that experience again and again and again. So one of the things, and it's difficult, because our minds, I mean, we've got the conditioning, we've got those expectations, but is to allow for a moment, breathe into that, right? And if we want to use that, put it in the manger, let it sit in the niche of our heart, like a gentle, like we would welcome somebody who was hurting. We would do that for somebody else, right? And then just allow that love of the divine that's in us, or that compassion as if it was somebody else. It's not a quick fix necessarily, but it's what comes up. And maybe invite that from somebody else who can support
certainly
that as well, and see us that way, hold us that way.
My experience
Yeah,
in answering that question is I've learned that those blockages and all that stuff is what I built up my personality around. And that is just another individual expression of the divine. And I look at the fact that, one of my prayers in the morning is, I hope God enjoys being Jerry today. And I don't dislike myself. I see it as
right.
perhaps I'm an actor on stage playing a bad role, but once I take the mask off, I'm really a nice guy underneath, Or, as God sees me, He sees me through unconditional love. It's just, He sees me taking the mask off, and I
Yeah.
just accept that as a role that I've been playing. It's such an innate part of who I am today, my personality. I don't look at it as bad or good. It's just part of my individual expression of the divine. And maybe if I become a bad actor and I hurt somebody, I'm offering them a lesson too. I try to take the negativity out of any part of my personality aspect. I try.
Yeah.
And then other times I beat myself up and I go, there I go again, But I take my mind off the main person.
That's why we call it practice, right?
Yeah, but what I'm
That's right,
saying is,
spiritual practice.
I go to the Course in Miracles and people look at me and I say, I don't dislike my ego, I embrace it. My personality, I embrace it because that's my individual expression of the divine.
And it may
It's a
be
gift.
purpose
It
for
might
other
be my
people
purpose, yeah.
to be exposed to that.
Yeah,
That may
yeah.
help them.
I have taught a lot of people patience and tolerance.
Good traits.
And
That
compassion.
brings the point that, I thought something was very, very negative in my life, but maybe it got me out of my comfort zone, and maybe it pushed me towards something even greater and better. And often, it's not a maybe, it actually does do that.
Yeah.
So when we stall, when we're fighting against something, and then we realize when you just go with that flow and you say, okay, I may be meant to move, maybe go on, or go on with new people, or whatever it is, or a new job, or, new relationships. And, you're digging your heels in hard and you're saying, no, I can do this, I can get this, or whatever. And it's just not meant to be. Then eventually when you give up and then go into that flow,
they've taught you that they're not negative after all when you see that you've gone to something even greater for yourself, that those people that you thought so negatively about were your helpers, were actually golden in your life. But you don't think of that while you're going through it. And then you say, that was really interesting, and who knows the real part they're playing. I mean, the ones who are the most negative could be your angels in other ways. And so I've learned that through maturity, I think, of spiritual growth.
But you can learn that it's not negative or
Right,
positive.
exactly, that too.
That's the
Neutral,
thing
like
to
a neutral.
embrace.
Yeah.
That's the thing to embrace, is
Yes,
that
yes.
it doesn't have to be as hard as we've accepted that it has to be.
Right.
We're like, we have to go through this struggle to,
Yes,
to
yes,
grow. We
that's
don't.
right, that's right.
But we accept it as fact, and everything that we've accepted as fact along the way in our lives helps to shape and dictate how we handle things.
Right.
And as we refocus on joy and love and on the present moment and on the acceptance that comes in that space of reminding ourselves to just be present, and in this moment, is it doable, and then is it joy-filled doable? And as Jerry had his accounting of that, and as you spoke about loving someone, if you can't love yourself right away or forgive yourself, then pretend it was somebody else, and you probably would, and then you can bring it back. It's all part of staying present, because when you're not present is when you have all those second guesses of, I should have been this, and
Right.
it should have been that way, and I think it was, and it must, all those words that are
Yeah.
of a mind-slapping shut opinion.
Yeah.
And that's not how the world is. The world is flowing. God's gift
Everything's flowing.
is flowing.
Yeah.
Two
And to
words,
get out of that.
silver lining.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that.
And understanding that they're attached to a big gray cloud sometimes that moves across the sky and out of our lives on its own timing. So a lot of that struggle though, is our mind is thinking that it should be otherwise, that we should be otherwise. We don't live in a culture where that's as embraced as it has been in other cultures as initiations, or as being an empath who's full of somebody else's energy. So it's something that we have to learn and extend ourselves patience and compassion, and then extend that to other people too, because it's easy to get caught up into thinking that everybody should be where we are or we should be where everybody else is. It's like compassion instead of comparison.
If the word should.
Yeah, right, should all over yourself, right?
Just one more quick statement. Speaking
Yeah,
of the
sure.
12-step or our 7-step and 12-step program is humbly ask God to remove our shortcomings. When I get humble and don't beat myself up for my mistakes and ask God to remove it, that is to recognize my divine nature.
Yeah.
The attack is gone. I no longer attack somebody.
Beautiful.
Or I don't have to defend myself even.
Yeah,
One of my character defects is defensiveness.
sure.
And if I recognize the Christ within me, there's nothing to defend. And so
Yeah.
it's God removing my defects of character,
Sure.
my shortcomings.
So ongoing practice, that's what we
And it's
all
not
of
my
us
job to do
sharing.
it. It really isn't.
Yeah.
I can't say I'm going to be a better person.
Mhm.
I'm going to allow God to work through me to be a better person. It's the whole
Yeah.
process.
May it be so, and through grace.
And then act as if.
Well, yeah, right. That's what it is. Because it does flow through us into action if we allow it. All right. Anyone? Thank you very much. That was so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so now we're going to move into the love offering. Gather. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, all that I have, and all that I am. May it be so.
Sun shines across the earth without borders, unconditionally. The
It was
Okay,
beautiful.
thank
Yeah,
you.
different ways.
Yes.
Thank you, Rose.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rose. And thank you, Vera, for doing the videos too. I'm
Oh,
so
yeah.
grateful every time. Okay, I think now, actually, we are ready for our let there be peace on earth. Yeah?
Yes, we're gonna do a cappella today.